What's going on, Two Knicks Chicks family? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady the Chef, joined by, I would say a special guest, but she's back on the show, Diva Locks. What's up, everybody?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Dblox 21. What's good?
Yeah, I'm so used to us going on at 11, so it is good afternoon. But yeah, lots to catch up on with the Knicks. The Knicks have won 8 out of their last 10, which is good. They're on a 3-game winning streak, I believe. And they're sitting at third in the East. So that's good as well, considering, the Knicks have had their share of woes so far, and just trying to figure out their identity at the start of the season. I mean, that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on. But I did want to go back to the Knicks win against Minnesota. Knicks beat them 133 to 107. I thought that was a really good game by the Knicks. I thought Carl went into Minnesota. I felt like he let his game speak for itself. He left it out on the floor, um, played 38 minutes, finished with a double double, had 32 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists. I believe he was 5 for 5 from the three. Just a very good game. Had good production from Precious Achua, who played 28 minutes, had a double double, 13 points, 10 rebounds. Quiet game from OG Anunoby, but he was still hanging around and giving them what they needed defensively. Mikal Bridges has still been in rhythm. 36 minutes, 29 points, 6 to 6, 6 rebounds. Jalen Brunson only had 14 points, 7 assists, 30 points, but not every night you need Jalen to go off. And then Deuce had played 29 minutes, had 16 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 9 points from Cameron Payne, 6 points, 6 rebounds from Jericho Sims. I thought that was a solid game by the Knicks, considering when I watched that game, it made me realize why the Knicks got rid of Julius Randle. And it's no shade to Randle, but I just feel like Randle, it's a lot of ISO ball. And when you watch Minnesota, while Randle had a good first half, he used to do that with the Knicks. He would have a strong half of a game when he played for the Knicks and then get cold. And Ant has some comments to say after that game. He said the paint is clogged up. He can't get inside of there. He said, teams are knowing what we're going to do. Either I'm a shoot, Jew is going to shoot. Rudy Gobert had no answer for Carl Anthony. I just thought that watching that game, and I had sent you a clip too. Randall shot a three, and the Knicks, I don't know who got the rebound, threw the ball up the court. Randall didn't even hustle back at the other end of the floor. And while Julius Randle has grown to be a better player with the Knicks, I don't think Julius Randle was able to reach the level of energy that New York fans in the state of New York requires when you play for the Knicks. And Minnesota, probably a place like that, or maybe if you go to Utah, that's a better fit for him. But in New York, it's not. When he said New York, we here, I never believed him. I'm just being very honest. It was never believable for me. I just felt like cool, whatever. But there was a couple of plays that I seen people posted on X, and I was like, wow, those are the things that I don't miss about Randall. The lack of like the hustle, the effort plays, him getting down on himself. He didn't sprint up the floor. There was another play too where someone posted, and I think someone said, well, Rudy should have guarded whoever it was. I said, no, but I watched it several times. Rudy was trying to guard, I want to say Towns was in the paint. And it was a quick play up the floor, another quick play the Knicks had. And Randall should have, I don't know if it was OG in the corner, but Randall just allowed a pass to go right past him to the corner, the shortest end of the 3-point line. And he didn't even play defense. And I said, this is the things that we don't miss about Randall. Like, I'm telling you, there was method to the madness of why the front office let Randall go. Letting Randall go, I think for some people, it was like, but he, when you at a job and they're like, oh, but he was a good employee. Like, why did they let him go? But there's deeper underlying reasoning why, when
Right.
you look under the scope of things, why we had to part ways. It just wasn't working out, let alone the injuries. Not saying he was an injury prone player, but the fact that we didn't really get to see him play in the playoffs, there's reasons why. The Minnesota fans are so annoyed. He didn't even score when they played the Warriors the other night. And this is not a Bash Randall show. It just made me realize, watching as a fan, I said, these are the things I don't miss about Randall. How many games have we seen where Randall would look good for us playing a game and he would have a good, strong second half or a good first half or one or two good scoring quarters, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. And this is pre us getting Jalen Brunson. So I just remember thinking to myself watching that game, I said, wow, like I don't I don't I don't miss having him here because it was frustrating when he would the lack of things, the production and the effort on certain plays, no matter what end of the floor he was on, that I don't miss about him. But when you watched the highlights of that game, what did you like, didn't like? What did you see in that game in Minnesota?
Well, there was a lot of things that I didn't like. I loved about that game. And if my sound gets funky, I'll just switch over. Just let me
You're
know
good
because I
for
know
now.
we had it. What was that?
You're good now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we could start off with, of course, like with Brunson. I'm gonna start off with him because, like cats call him Cat. Like Brunson didn't force it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes and you say how Randall do. Sometimes in some games, I feel Brunson do, and I don't know if it's because he feel he has to, but I love that he didn't force it, and I think he kind of. I don't want to say take took a back seat, but I felt that this is Carl's moment. Um, I let him enjoy what, and we're gonna win or lose with him. So I think you never know what's in a player's mindset, but he didn't force it. Cat, like what can you say? Like he's just man, it was a nice pickup for us. He didn't force it. He let the game come to him. And I guess in the first few minutes, I guess maybe the emotions was over, overwhelmed or whatever. So I guess he had to settle himself down mentally. And so that's why in the beginning, he wasn't like forcing the issue. He just like he played this game. He passing, and he let the game come to him. So he just played like very unselfish, ball. You know, and when you don't want to keep hashing the Randall thing, but Randall he was forcing it, and he said it was just another game, but his actions spoke otherwise. I mean, and I even mentioned to you when Randall hit this three because he was on fire. He was, and I think Minnesota's like, well, we're gonna win or lose with him, and unfortunately, they got the short end of the stick, and they lost because of his selfish plays. So and it wasn't just another game because at one point when Randall again he was on fire, he hit a three, And I don't know if a lot of people caught it, but he looked over to the bench and he had some, not too choice words for the bench. I guess because he was, it was like he has something to prove. And when you do that, it kind of takes you out, and that's what it did for him. And so that's why you were saying like these are the reasons why you see why he was dealt or whatever, but just overall, like I don't want to harp too much on that, but Cat's like decisiveness. He didn't hold on to the ball. He just like knew what he wanted to play, and
Hmm.
you know, and, and he played this game, not forcing it. Um, and then Mikel, like I just love like the progression. He got off to a slow start. Um, and I think he's finally figured out his role. I don't know if it's because we I saw some things with Hart not starting, but I think like Mikel, he found his footing, and I think we're gonna definitely see more like of what as fans we're expecting, for him to do and a contribution that we know he can bring to this team. Um, it was just and precious like he had a good game doing just that Minnesota game, but we'll talk about that Pelicans game. But it was nice feeling for Josh. He had a double double. You saw the aggressive, and that's what you want to see for him. Whether you start or whether you come off the bench, because you are capable. Not that you will give us a double double, all the time, but it's just to be aggressive. Your decisiveness, not being afraid to put the ball in the hoop. The hoop is open for you, So it was just nice to see him, not so much a start, but just make that the contribution and just overall just nice ball movement, from the Knicks. Tibbs didn't let it get close to 20. He called those timeouts. And them maintaining the lead because we know the Knicks they tend to have like these severe defensive collapse, and they was just able to keep their feet on their necks and just like you know we're gonna take this game by hook or crook, and just being able to being aggressive without being putting yourself in foul trouble. That was a great win. Regardless whether Towns went back or not, it was just a nice win. And like they said, they got to stack wins. You know, it was just a great game for them overall. You know, Cat just played his game and just let it come to him.
When you look at the way the Knicks are playing so far this season, originally Knicks fans were saying we got fleeced by getting Carl Anthony. Are you happy with him here versus if we still had Randall? And I'll even say DiVincenzo, who's been struggling in Minnesota as well. Are you happier with the way the Knicks look with Carl Anthony here and this group of guys, as well as Mikel, because the Knicks gave up a lot to get both Bridges and Carl? Do the Knicks look better, or you feel more comfortable with where they're gonna go with the movement, the trade movement that happened, versus if we still had Randall and DiVincenzo here?
Oh, I'm definitely happy with that trade. And we by far didn't get fleeced. We got the best end of the deal, you ask me. Um, but even with DiVincenzo, Mikel makes up for what DiVincenzo did and what he could have done. So, the signing with him, bringing him along, that took away, that shored up, that missing piece. And so when you now you got a guy like Carl Anthony Towns, and again, once Mitch, although we know it's going to be a slow progress for him to come in, he's not going to make this big impact, right away. But once he get his, basketball conditioning in and get the games under his belt, like man, like this team is going to be like scary. And then the third, you know, as it is, where they stand, I'm happy with where they're at right now. You know, as long as they don't fall, anything below, I would say eat fourth, I'm happy. I just, for me, the test, I can't even say a test, but I want to see, and we said it before, and a lot of people, I'm questioning, you want to see them, the matchup with Boston at this stage right now, the matchup with Cleveland, OKC. They have that game, the Christmas game, with the Spurs. Yeah, they're young. But Wemby himself, he's like a one-man record crew. So like these are the like matchups. I would definitely like to see them, the teams that, they I guess like Houston, a young team, Memphis, so teams like that are above the 500. I want to see them match up with teams like that and see where they're at, in basketball wise. But otherwise than that, yeah, man, got the best end of the bargain. Rose, you know great acquisition for Carl Anthony Towns and bring a Mikal along.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think also you see too, like I heard shout out to the 7 p.m. podcast, and I heard Mello say this on his podcast, and he said when Carl was in Minnesota, he was still growing. Now that he's on the Knicks, he's a man. He said, so like he's he's basically at his peak of his career, and the Knicks are getting the betterment of where he's at. Like he's
Mm.
grown and developed more in Minnesota, and you can see I see a lot of Minnesota fans saying like, why would Minnesota not trade Rudy and they would trade Cat when Cat and Ant work so well together? And you know, I have to say that a big part of the Knicks getting Carl Anthony was, a big part of it was the front office, being able to do what they did. Um,
And plus, they couldn't pay three superstars.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I think that the Knicks just really did a great job making that happen. Um, and just doing what they needed to do to get Carl Anthony over here, and as well as Mikal Bridges, who wanted to be with the Knicks. And for me, I think that that whole chatter of Carl Anthony is he doesn't belong here. Stop it. He belongs here. He belongs here because his numbers speak for itself. He's leading the league in what rebounding. He's averaged what 24 double doubles out of the 26 games.
yeah, yeah.
So he's holding it down when you don't have Mitchell Robinson, who, by the way, I saw that as far as Mitchell Robinson goes, according to Sham Sharania, he reported that Robinson's return was pushed back to the end of January or the beginning of February. Are you worried that Mitchell Robinson, I don't want to say that he's not going to play, but that he's going to play like so late in the season? Because even when he comes back, Mitch is not going to be, he's going to be on limited minutes. I knew Mitch wasn't coming back at the beginning of January because I said it to you the last time when we was talking on the phone. I said, we haven't really heard anything. It's been the same kind of timeline of they said at the beginning of January. I said, it's no way that he's coming back at the beginning of January. But now they're saying it could be the beginning of February.
No,
I don't know if you was going to say anything, but
no. I'm not worried because they're doing fine without him. You don't want to put it in that context, but it is what it is. You
yeah,
know, they're holding their own. Without him, um, you know, Towns is averaging a double double in rebounds. So Yeah, Mitch can do things, get the second chance points and this and that and third, but for where they're at, sorry to say, but Mitch, take your time, and you definitely want to make sure that you are ready and not rush. And he's also taking his time. I saw him doing a workout on his page, and he was doing some like I guess like quads and it's just strengthening his ankles and everything. So like take your time, don't rush because we know his history.
Yeah.
So they're holding their own within his absence. So no, I'm just take your time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't, and he's too fragile. We don't need you snapping something when you come back so quickly. He's like a weak rubber band, you just gotta I agree. Take your time. I
Yeah,
was reading an
and
article on Bleacher Report talking about the Knicks identity. Bleacher Report writer Eric Pincus says that the Knicks are still trying to get things to where they want to be. The Knicks have gone from a defense first team to scoring juggernaut. As we know, the Knicks offense has picked up this season, which is a great thing because 2 seasons ago, we didn't really have a solid offense and guys who could create their own and score, right? Placing in the top three in offense rating to start the season. He said, in quote, Coach Tom Thibodeau has made his reputation coaching defense, but this roster isn't quite as rugged as last year. That's not bad, it's just different, and the Knicks need and still need some time to perfect it. Considering the fact that they are sitting in third place in the Eastern Conference right now, they are on the right track, but it isn't enough to get to the championship contender conversation. We talked a lot about Tom Thibodeau and how much he's known to be a defensive coach, and he, is big on defense. And yes, I feel like the Knicks defensively has changed from last year, considering who we have again, but we didn't make no huge major changes. I think that the Knicks still have the possibility to improve defensively, right? I'm not worried about them offensively, but improve defensively, yes. Um, and the Knicks still are a work in progress as far as where we know right now. When you watch the Minnesota game, Josh Hart being out for personal reasons, they play Precious. Do you think that that made a difference? Because I still think that you need Josh Hart to start. But why do you think that Precious was so successful in that game? Was it a lack thereof on Minnesota's end? Or was it the spacing? Because I feel like the Knicks have had good spacing on the floor and the ball movement has been a lot better these past few games. But what is it that having Precious on the floor made him be valuable in that game?
I think it was a combination of all that. Spacing, menace. I think it was a combination of all what you said. The spacing, Minnesota's lack, of their defense that they didn't play. And Precious sees that moment. He know the value that he brings to the team. He had a great game. You know, I don't maybe because it's starting. Sometimes the players psych themselves up, and you know they can have a good game. His defense wasn't as stellar when he was guarding Julius because as we know Julius was going off in the that first half in the first quarter. So defensively he did lack, but he did again he had a double um and yeah, I like Josh starting because you know just that ball energy and for a guard he's an awesome rebounder. So
Yeah.
just Precious, I guess, just starting. Again, it was a nice look for him, and he took advantage of that moment that he was given. The start. because you never know when you're gonna be called upon again. So when your number's called, you got to make the most of that moment. Um, and so I think it was just a combination of everything. Just Minnesota's lack of defense, Precious starting, and just being able to contribute, get the rebounds, being at the right place at the right time. So um, yeah, he just had a great game.
Yeah, not to mention last season, he had a lot of moments where he was called to start because of injuries. The Knicks had a huge man down situation last year, so Precious was able to get those starts and shine. And I also think that, like I said before, we noticed last year it looks like he found a home with the Knicks, and playing with them, he just looks really comfortable. And I'm hoping that he can do like what iHeart did last season and help his stock, his trade value go up. Which, speaking of trade talk, so the Knicks are over their first tax apron and a hard cap at the second tax apron, so they can't receive a higher salary that it sends out in a deal. Now, a trade isn't impossible, but any potential deal will come with challenges. Insert the Knicks front office secret weapon, Brock Aller, who played chess to get Carl Anthony Towns here. He was the one who made this trade possible. So Brock may have some more tricks up his sleeve to make somebody come here. We see the Warriors was able to get what's this guy name from Brooklyn? Excuse me. Stephen Bondi reported earlier this week that the Knicks have received some interest in backup center Jericho Sims, and that one team is willing to overpay for Jericho Sims. Sims will be an unrestricted free agent in the offseason, giving New York a reason to consider moving off of his expiring contract at the deadline. A deal involving Sims is the kind of trade fans should expect because the Knicks don't really have flexibility under the CBA. Question to you is, will Sims stay or will he go? You think Sims is going to stay or go?
No, I think if a team come calling him, um, I think Sims will definitely jump at the chance to go. And if you notice, his stock value is going up.
Yeah.
He's even like playing, you know, I never forget, Queen Shorey, she points out like how on paper how good Jericho is. We always say, oh well, we don't see translate, on the
On the
floor.
eye test.
But
Yeah.
and honestly, on paper, he looks good. And sometimes that's what teams are looking for on paper, because if you can do this, and this is what we're seeing, and then even as of late, Sims has been playing more aggressive, just being more active, not falling for that, staying on his feet. Remember before he used to fall for every little fake, and he's not doing that. So he's playing more aggressive and better ball, and and this is a business. He wants to go someplace where he can potentially play more minutes, and that's his right. There's no true allegiance. It's a business at the end of the day. So I think if someone, a team come calling, and it's a team that has a potential and are going places, or he could be a part of the rebuilding phase. You know, I think he would, jump at the chance. And again, it's a business. If you could go somewhere, play more, because the team see your potential, then why not?
Yeah. I think also because he wants to be able to get more of those playing time minutes, right?
Yeah.
And be able to play in games. And I think to some degree, though, it can work out on both ends. Like a team could get Jericho, he can be an asset there. And then I think the Knicks can get a center who can be of more value to this Knicks roster. It's very hard to come by another Isaiah Hartenstein. at least of what's available, or if the Knicks can. I mean, this front office has proven that they can get players. When they got OG, they went and got Bridges, they got Carl. So they've proven that they can play chess and they can make things happen. And I'm sure they have their eyes on certain players that they're looking to bring over here, and they can make it happen. So I'm hoping to see that, if you're going to trade Jericho, you can bring in someone who's going to be, I guess, a bit more in game, like productive, and give you a little bit more than what Jericho could give you. Because Jericho, I think he helps out as far as like kind of like what Precious with rebounding, except Precious could give you a little bit more points. But he's strong, he's in shape, he's young. But it sucks that Jericho took like up until now to really prove that his stock value has gone up and that he can do something. Like you watched him and Deuce come in at the same time, and Deuce like has surpassed him and is getting the burn in games. And Sims is like just now, it's almost like, well, it's too late now, buddy. Like you're showing us what you could do, but it's too late. And I think the Knicks are kind of 50-50 in on him. It's like we're keeping him as collateral here because we don't have Mitchell Robinson, a healthy enough Mitchell Robinson. Even if Mitch was here, his minutes will still be down. But, and again, that's why his minutes are down, because they know they could get a little bit more out of Precious than they're going to get from him. But it just sucks that it took Jericho Sims like this long to kind of prove that what he can give a team. And yeah, it does. His stats on paper look great, and I think to the eye test, if you watch him as of late so far this season, he looks good, like what he's doing for the team. But it just sucks that it's like it's just now happening now. Like I don't know why it took him so long to get it together. But the Knicks played New Orleans yesterday, and they beat them 93 to 104. I don't know. I think this game in the first half, I was kind of like shaking my head because I wasn't sure what was going on with the Knicks. New Orleans came out with this high energy first quarter. They both scored 28. Second quarter, the Knicks got outscored 21 to 17. And it wasn't until the second half of the game, the third and fourth quarter, where the Knicks actually took control. But I thought it was interesting too, because in this game, Carl Anthony still finished with a double double. He had 11 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. But it was the other guys who filled in and made up for it. Jalen Brunson went off. He was lights out from the three. He had 39 points, 6 assists. Mikal Bridges had 18 points. OG Anunoby, this was a good game from OG, considering he hasn't been scoring as high as of late. He had 16 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds. And Josh Hart had 14 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds. It was good to see Josh Hart back. Precious played 12 minutes. Jericho played 13 minutes. Deuce played 16 minutes. And Campaign played 8 minutes. Um, Miles, Precious, and Cam all had 2 points each. The Knicks did have 16 turnovers. Not sure what's going on with the turnovers. The Knicks have to do a better job of protecting the ball. Both teams finished with 40 points in the paint. The Knicks did have 24 assists. They did get out rebounded 42 to 45. Surprisingly, they did well from the free throw line. They were 13 for 15. Field goal percentages, they was at 43%, and they were 15 for 37 at 40% from the 3-point line. What were your thoughts on the New Orleans game?
Well, this was a game, um, like how I said how I'm sorry.
I didn't say nothing.
Oh, no, this was a game that now I'm gonna reverse it, like how with the Timberwolves game, Jalen didn't force it, you know. And I can't say he forced it yesterday, but he took over when he needed to take over, like and you never take any team lightly. Like you can't look at, oh, who's on the injury report, who's starting, and who. Each team, like I say, they get a salary, they put on their shorts the same way you do, they lace up, whatever. So you don't take anything lightly, but this was because their record was what, 5-23.
Hmm.
you know those are the teams that you don't sleep on. Them teams that are look, and they're home. um the crowd wasn't there, but they still try to make a statement. And they had the Knicks there, but this is when Jalen's like, okay, like I need to take it up a notch. He saw, what the defense was giving him, and that half, and quite sure Tiz probably ripped them a whole new one, at halftime. And so this was a game where he was like, okay, let me, be assertive, be aggressive without, overly aggressive and fouling and X, Y, and Z and putting them on the line. So, and he saw, Cat being in foul trouble. So, I guess as the captain, this is where I have to take over and be a leader and seize his moment. So it was just nice and refreshing. Again, you want to stack wins. Don't matter what your opponent's record is. A win is a win. It counts in the standings at the end of the day. So it was just like, again, they got up to a slow start. And they picked up the defense. So that was refreshing. Mikel, you know, just him being. Again, I like how he's coming along. Again, as I said before, how everybody was like, oh, we gave us so many draft, da da da. I think he's found, again. I don't think he's found his footing. He know his role. Because at the beginning, like I stated, you gotta realize where he came from, being the first option, and he found his role. He knows when to you know, not so much a step on people's toes, but he's just, again, letting the game come to him, but being aggressive, being able to fight over screens and things like that. So I just, he's his continued progress for the Knicks. You know, I alluded to Sims, like how he's playing, more aggressive. Again, he probably hear the rumor mill, and the buzz. So he's playing, making seizing that moment. Um, yeah, this was a nice win for them. Oh, and by the way, the Knicks at their 13th in the defensive rating. Last year we know that they were higher, but they're second in offensive. So that's sometimes there's a trade off. Would you like them higher? Yes, I would, but I think that'll come as they go along. But Josh, he was back. Just you know his scoring and just being he's like the energizer bunny, man. He, it was a good win for them overall.
Yeah, I thought in the first half, Brunson couldn't do what he wanted to because Herb Jones had him on lock. He played him really well defensively. And then once he got in foul trouble,
Mm,
Brunson was able to get him in foul trouble. And they tried to put other looks on him, and no one could really guard Brunson. But I think the difference is too is like when you look at last year, Brunson, a lot of the games had to go hard and give you 35, 40, 42, 45 points. This season, he doesn't need to do that. And the difference is because you have Carl Anthony, you got a healthy OG Ananobi, and then you have Mikal Bridges, who, if you notice a lot of times, Mikal is very active. He cuts to the basket a lot. So we're able to get easy layups, quick dunks. He's moving. I like the way guys are moving without the ball. And sometimes when you have one or two guys doing that, it becomes infectious and you get other guys who are doing it. But Mikal does that really well, where I see him like cutting to the basket or he's somehow sneaks his way, almost like how OG does, and they're able to get the easy pass and get an easy layup or a dunk. But I think about when I watch Mikel playing, he gets you a lot of those easy mid-range shots that you don't really see a lot of other guys on the team do. Like those are not the kind of shots that they go after. And he's so clutch from those shots. And it makes me think back to like if we had DiVincenzo, that wasn't his game. He was more of the 3 point catch and shoot 3 point shooting type of guy. And yeah, he had times where he would drive and give you a nice explosive dunk, kind of like you would see Deuce McBride do. But Mikel, he gives the Knicks another look from the mid range, not just settling from the three. Now, like OG, Mikel could hit those shortest 3 point corner threes very well. But just being in the right place at the right time, being active. I mean, man, the way he's hitting those mid range shots, I'm just like, you, no one else on the Knicks really does that. So you need him on this team. And I'm so happy that he's found his footing and he's in a rhythm now. And he just looks so comfortable. And, watching the Knicks play against New Orleans, the New Orleans does what the Knicks do. They don't guard the perimeter. At one point, Mikel got the ball in the corner three. He was able to take his time, spin the ball how he wanted to, and shoot the ball. I said, wow. No one didn't even try to contest him. And the Knicks did it a few times as well, where I watched them and I just was like shaking my head. I said, see, this is what I mean. Why are you Brunson and OG standing next to each other instead of one person at least trying to attempt to get out to the perimeter line to guard it? But whatever. But I thought that the Knicks so far this season, I heard Monica McNutt say this, and it's true. Like, it's not going to be every player's night. Some guys are going to be off. And Carl Anthony probably was still coming down from his high against Minnesota, which is fine. He still gave you a double-double regardless. But I like that you had other guys that were able to step up. OG came alive because he's been kind of quiet lately offensively. Bridges had a good game as well. And that's what you need. I saw someone in the chat said that OG and Mikel haven't played a good game yet together. Well, there goes Pellet. The New Orleans game there's a game. They played well together. They played well together. They both did, they helped out and gave you. And OG wasn't even in a lot of the highlights. It was mainly Brunson that took over all the highlights, as well as Mikal Bridges, which is fine. But if you can get that production from OG where he's going to get you, 16 points, Josh Hart giving you 14, Mikal giving you 18, that helps out. But when it falls all on Brunson, you're not going to win the game. You need other guys that's going to step up and help out, and be able to help you win games. So that's important. But I thought that this game against New Orleans, I thought it was a good game because this is a team that you should be beating. What did we beat New Orleans by 30 the last time we played them at the Garden? So it's no reason why you should be losing to New Orleans if you beat them in the Garden by 30 points. So, is there any I don't know, is there any concern with OG and the lack of like points production, or you just think that he's going through a mini rough patch?
I can't hear the sound. Let me
I'm
go.
not yeah, I'm
Let
not
me
sure.
go out. I'm gonna come back in.
I was yeah, so what I was asking her was, is there any pretty much concern for OG? Because if you look at OG's numbers, his last couple of games, 7 points, 6 points, 8 points, he hasn't really been on fire like he has when he started at the beginning of the season, right? But for me personally, I'm not in a panic. As long as he remains healthy, knocking on wood, and he keeps continuing to show up defensively, right? Because Precious Achua couldn't guard Randall. Had to get OG to help out. And OG and Mikel usually have the hardest job defensively whenever we play teams. It's usually OG and Mikel that have to guard, usually those one or two top players on the team. So I don't know. I think that OG Ananobi, like I said, he played 37 minutes last night, had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 16 points. I thought it was a solid game. Now, in the Minnesota game, OG was missing a lot of threes. I did notice that. And these are threes that he normally hit, like top of the key, on the angle. I'm not sure what's going on with him with missing the threes, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think that maybe he's just been going through like a mini rough patch where he's just been off and he hasn't been hitting the shots that he normally hits. And listen, it happens to guys. Some you gonna have maybe 2, 3, 4 games where you just not giving us what we normally get from you, where you gonna give us 18, 20 points, and that's okay. But if you making up for it on other ends of the floor, defensively, effort plays, rebounding, steals, I'll take it. I'll take it. Like I don't need you to try to be giving us, 18, 20 points every game, but if you can help out and if you can give us a little bit of other things, you know what I mean, on the floor, then I'll take it from OG. But I'm not concerned with him as far as minus yesterday's game, him being in a rough patch and missing open threes. I think with OG, as long as he can still drives to the basket, keeps active hands and active feet, then he'll be okay. So he just has to continue on doing what he's doing. You don't have to don't settle for the threes. That's my biggest thing. That's what the Knicks did against Atlanta. That was the Atlanta game. They were settling for the threes, which was terrible to watch. Terrible, terrible, terrible to watch. So, yeah, I mean, overall, though, I thought that was a good game. I like where the Knicks are sitting right now. They're now, 18-10. They're sitting third in the East, right behind Boston, who's 22-6, and then Cleveland's number one at 25-4. And then Orlando, who came back after being down like 22 points and beat Miami, which is crazy. So that's why you can't sleep on teams.
Yeah, and also New York gave or the Magic their first home loss. So when you take things like that into consideration, you see that the trajectory that the Knicks are going. Um, long as they keep building off of things like that, then they could climb up. And it's not even so much as they climbing up, just remain within the standards and not fall too far down. Because this league is about runs. You, teams could have this record but lose to teams like the Hawks. They beat Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it was twice. I think so. Things like that. You a team could run against the wall, and they could have this. They could go on a 2, 3 game losing streak, and think so. You don't sleep on no team for the most part. You know.
Yeah, I I think that the Knicks have to continue to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Um, Supposedly the Knicks are playing Mob Deep's shook ones after they beat New Orleans in the locker room.
Who?
Um,
who?
but they just have to continue to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Like you shouldn't be losing to New Orleans. You shouldn't have lost to Detroit, to be honest, either. But it is what it is. Um, the Knicks play tomorrow. They play Toronto at 7:30. Then they play on Christmas Day, early game at 12 o'clock against the Spurs. Then they play on Friday against Orlando. And then they play again on Saturday against Washington. What are your predictions for this week's games?
You know me, I'm going 4-0. It is what it is. Although again, you don't want to sleep on a team, but if they stay, on the path that they're on, like I'm not worried about OG with his score. As long as he's staying, consistent and aggressive on the defensive end, then I'm not, worried about he had a off night and things like that. But um, I'm definitely, I'm not gonna bet against my team, but I'm gonna go 4-0. Um, Although that Christmas game, it'd be nice if they get a win, but I'm still gonna go 4-0.
Yeah, I think the Knicks have to be careful with Toronto because they've lost their last six. So they're going to definitely look to try to win against the Knicks tomorrow. But just handle business, beat them. RJ is going to try to go off, of course. But the Knicks should be able to handle business and beat Toronto. The Spurs, I think if you can hold Wemby to the best of your ability and watch the ball movement, the threes, they should be able to beat them as well. I mean, that would be a nice Christmas gift to us all. And then Orlando, like I said, they were down by like 21 points in the fourth quarter against Miami and started shooting lights out from the three, out hustling Miami, grabbing rebounds, hustle plays, and just beat them. Like I just came back from 21 and won the game.
And I,
So you can't allow that to happen.
yeah, and I think Ben is expected to come back like by Christmas, so hopefully if they're playing Christmas Day, he may try to make his debut there. But their guards is just Suggs and Black. They just no match for Brunson. But again, you just got to just play Knicks basketball. Don't fall into the team style and play. Let them dictate. We know the Knicks, they tend to get up to slow starts. Um, Sometimes it helps, and other times it's like a uphill battle. If they could just stay on the even pace and you know don't come out too slow, because sometimes it puts them in a deficit, and then it's like I like just yesterday, like you don't want to take any team lightly,
Right.
but if they could just come out and just impose your will, like you say, Wemby, he I don't know if that was a record, but he had like 10 blocks. So you don't want to, again, they got some guys on the team that can hit. Um, and before I was like kind of concerned with the Knicks. I was like, the Knicks have like shooters, but do you have anybody can shoot, but can you hit that basket? And there was a concern, I guess, when they um this is probably a few games ago, but like that's put to bed. The Knicks just got to just play like their style of ball, and you know if you could come out, a little bit quicker and more, aggressive, and so again, sometimes it's to their advantage because I guess they see what the defense is giving them, and sometimes it works against them. But I'm still gonna go 4-0 with them.
I got them 3-1. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they can drop the Orlando game or either the Spurs game, but for sure, it's no reason why they should lose to Toronto or on Saturday against the Wizards, who they play back to back because they play him Saturday and then again next Monday. But the Knicks just have to keep building and becoming a better team. I agree that you can't afford to have slow starts. You got to come out aggressive. Um, I don't know too. I think that the Knicks just have to continue to work on their defense and become stronger there because there's no balance right now. And I think one of the things that really hurts the Knicks is that our bench keeps getting outscored because we don't really have a solid enough bench to be able to take care of business. Like, who do you have? Deuce, Campaign, Precious
Precious
Achua,
Sims.
and Jericho Sims. That's
Yeah.
not a strong enough bench. So that's not going to get the job done. So again, if you look at the way the makeup with the way the roster is, it's heavily the focal point is on the starters. And you know, I'm not going to be down on Tibbs for overplaying the starters. Like, it is what it is. I think that this season we can all assess when we get to the playoffs. If we see that by the second round and this team is winded and they're gassed and they have no more to give, then yeah, we just got to blame Tibbs because something's got to give. Either the front office needs to work on getting us guys in who are, Tibbs is going to one want to play. Two, they're going to be an asset of value on this next team, and that'll make up for us having a strong enough bench. Because if not, it's going to be the same thing. It's literally going to be insanity, expecting a different result. But Tibbs is going to, because Tibbs is stuck in his ways. He's old school. So he wants to play the same guys who he trusts. It's like Tibbs goes off of a seniority basis. Like, well, because you have a longer tenure here, I'm going to continue to play you. Versus, like I said, the whole rookies, like, get it out of your head. He's not playing them. He's not playing them. It's like, y'all go do y'all thing on the Westchester Knicks. I'm worried about this team, and that's all she wrote. And I feel like the way this Knicks team is made up as the way the roster is now, because he don't even play Toppin Jr. on the barely any minutes. He don't even yeah, Toppin Jr., his little brother. He don't even play him. They love putting Toppin in the media, um, social media videos and things, but he don't get no burn. He be playing Kolick, Ryan.
Dadier,
Yeah, he plays them before he plays Toppin Jr. So
yeah.
I think that again, come the end of this season, not just the regular season, the entire season, if we notice that that's something that we have an issue with the players, then we need to have a serious talk. Like, the front office has to make something happen instead of just, well, we need to get another center in place. We need to address the bench, because you can't keep making the focal point. I'm gonna play the starters heavy, heavy, heavy minutes, and then when you go to the bench, you may, you're gonna get Deuce McBride, who's gotten a lot better. He's still growing. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet either, but it's not enough. And the Knicks can't really expect to compete well when you're heavily reliant on the five starters and you don't really have enough guys who can come in off the bench and give you enough production where you can make things happen. So again, I still have my eyes on Tom Thibodeau because again, I don't think that Tibbs can't say, well, I'm working with what I have. You have the pieces in place.
You have a lot.
Yeah, so you have a lot more to work with than when you first had a year, maybe 2 years ago. You have a lot more to work with now. So I don't want to hear it. But again, Tibbs is so stuck in his ways that, like, even just his approach to the game, if I'm another coach, I'm like, yo, Tibbs is mad predictable. So unless you have Brunson or you have Carl Anthony, Bridges, OG going off in a game, the Knicks are very readable. They're very readable. So I don't know. I just think that somehow if we don't notice that, or if we notice rather that we get to the second round, because I still stand by it. I think there's some pressure, not just on Tibbs, but on the team as a whole. Like, you have to make it past the second round. The front office is like, hello. And I know there's some Knicks fans that'll say, oh, well, a lot of us are the most impatient fan base. We've been waiting for over 50 years. How much longer do we need to wait? I commented this the other day, and I was saying how, like, we had to wait 28 years for the New York Liberty to win a championship. I don't know what is it about New York teams why you got to wait decades for them to win a championship. It's ridiculous. And do I think that the Knicks are heading in the right direction? Yes. It takes championships teams time. Yes. Are the Knicks contenders? Not the conversation for today. It's not, because they still, this is just the first quarter. If I had to give the Knicks a grading for right now, I would give the Knicks a B, B plus.
Yes, I same here. Yeah.
Because considering, you know, I still do think that the Knicks are missing like a few pieces. Like the depth from the bench is missing. You need a solid center who can play on that floor. And I still think because you don't know how long you're gonna get from Mitchell Robinson when he comes back.
And
So you
what
need right. So you need someone to really be like a more reliable player for his position. And I still think that you're missing like you need better production off the bench. Like I said, like I don't like where we're sitting right now when that, yeah, I like Campaign being in there because he can bring the ball up. So I do like that. It gives Brunson a little bit of a break. I would rather him bring up the ball than Deuce McBride. But I still do think that this team needs, um, they're still missing some pieces.
well, they could definitely use another wing because you know
Yeah.
those rookies aren't playing like Dadier, and then he's not, he's a rookie, so it would definitely help. If they could get someone like a OG caliber type of player, that defensive like special, someone that could lock them down. You know, if they could get somebody like that, and again, that center is still like a question mark there. So there are some missing pieces. So it's hard to give them anything above a B, because yeah, they're in third, but they lost games that they should have won, and so and it's too early. We're just it's still a lot of basketball left.
Yeah. I I don't know. I think that I'm curious to see if the Knicks make a move before the trade deadline. Um,
I think they will. That's why Sims is being mentioned. I mean, I think they will, and you know, I I saw it early in the chat. They said, oh, the Knicks should do right by Sims, and have him go to a team. I don't know the exact wording, but like a team where he can flourish and play and contribute. So yeah, I definitely hope so as well.
yeah. Shout out to Ron from Still Knicks fans. He said, "What's good, Knicks family? Salute to the chat.
Salute.
Salute to Lady and the Chef and Diva Locks. Happy holidays. Same to you, Ron. I was watching yesterday while I was running around. Hit him up. NYNJ salutes you. Says Shamit will return after Christmas. Yeah, I think the Knicks definitely need Shamit.
Oh, for sure.
I like what I saw from him in the preseason. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, he'll be a nice extra added addition, like who you could bring off the bench who can give you scoring. His energy was there. He was aggressive, not standing around waiting for the ball. Um, yeah, I think the Knicks definitely need him back. I know he's playing with the G League right now, but I feel like ever since the Knicks brought the rookies to the G League, I think Deuce McBride was like a one-off-ish kind of situation where he was back and forth from the G League, but actually getting some burn with the Knicks. They're not really doing that anymore. You know what I mean? And you're not going to see players like Daddy A and um, what's his name? Kolick.
Mm-hmm.
They're Huck Porty. They're not going to be playing them from Westchester Knicks into the on the Knicks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Bergen. He says, shout out to the chat. Exactly. Hugh Burrow brother said, I can't wait no more. It's true. We've been waiting long enough for the Knicks. Like, enough is enough. And I think that, like, if you're a true Knicks fan, you're not going to be hard and critique them, like, necessarily. I think where the Knicks are right now is at a good point, right? But I think that in the long run, I don't think that as Knicks fans, we should be complacent. Meaning, well, if the Knicks win 50 games, that's cool. And I'm not putting heavy, when I say that, I'm not putting heavy emphasis on where the Knicks should finish in a regular season or saying that that's what matters. But why not have higher standards? Can we get 55 wins?
Yeah, exactly.
57 wins? Like,
Okay,
let's be better the next season.
so anything below 50 is a disappointment.
Yeah, because
No,
if you
just
won 50 last year, you shouldn't be losing anything less than 50.
agree. Yep.
So, yeah, I think that, you know, the Knicks need to win more than 50 this season, and they need to get out of the second round this year as well. Like, we already know that the Knicks can make the first, we already know the Knicks can make the playoffs. We know that the Knicks can get into the first round. We know that the Knicks can get into the second round. Is can they get out of the second round and get to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals? And as far as I'm concerned, the Knicks can definitely well stay in that third spot for the entire season. They are a good team. But I think the concern comes with, can this roster, aka the starting five, have enough energy to get past the second round? You know, can we have a healthy team the whole season as well? But even with a healthy squad, can these guys have enough in the tank to get out of the second round? Because if Tibbs is playing you so many minutes, you know, I don't see the minutes going down. And no, guys aren't complaining, but what I'm saying is, do you have enough in you to be able to withhold and get out of the second round and have enough to get out? But I think also with that is that, like I said, the Knicks can stay in very much well stay in the third seed in the East, right? As the East, I don't think that we should get comfortable because any team could go on a run, especially after All-Star break. But the Knicks, as long as they stay the course and continue to get better and build on their continuity and continue to gel together, they can stay in that third. But I think the biggest thing is that they have to figure out how to beat teams like Boston, how to beat Cleveland, how to beat OKC. You have to figure out how to beat teams like that. If you can't figure out how to get past those teams, we have a problem. You know what I mean? There's a concern. Are those teams beatable? Absolutely. Can the Knicks beat those teams? Absolutely. But if you can't figure out how to not get your butt whooped when Boston embarrassed you, when Cleveland's going to toy around with you, because the Knicks technically have Cleveland's number, especially if we have a healthy Mitchell Robinson. But if you can't figure out how to beat those teams who space the floor very well, who have excellent ball movement, who's quick up and down the floor, who have excellent rebounding, boxing out, they guard the perimeter, you know, they're 5 steps quicker than you, ahead of you. If you can't figure out, right, if you can't figure out how to get stops against those teams, how to turn on your basketball IQ to the next level, and really figure out how to beat those teams without it being Jalen Brunson has to give you 45, 50 points. Carl has to give you 40 points, but more of it being a collective team effort because it takes 5 of you.
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out, you're not going to get past the Eastern Conference Finals. You're not. You're not. So you have to figure out how to stop those teams. Cleveland has figured out the formula. I don't know what they changed, what they did.
Well, it was the coach. He I was just so funny. I was listening to something on I think Sirius, and they was saying how Atkinson, right, is the coach, right? They was saying how when he got there, you know, these guys gonna learn how to like play off the ball, like how with Garland and Mitchell. Like in other words, one is not better than the other. You're gonna guys gonna share this ball, and so he they brought into to that mindset. And they brought it's the coach, like the players have to buy into the system, and once they do that, then collectively, that's how you formulate those wins. It's like you know, in other words, like there's no superstars there, and
Right.
they're sharing that ball collectively between amongst the two of them. So because remember there was some talk about trading Garland, but when Atkinson came in, I guess with that team meeting, he sat down with them, and together you guys are going to share this ball. And so that's what, and that makes for one of the reasons for a winning formula. And they just bought into the system. um, so that's why I think like where they're at as far as in the standards, why they're number one. And just they like you said, they found that winning formula. And the Knicks to get there, the more they play, like again, we're talking about two new players that are on this team. So and they're gelling, and the more they play, the more that they're gelled together. So it's just a matter of it'll click though.
Yeah, I think that the Knicks can definitely turn it up though. Like, not saying that they won't. I'm saying it more like I think they can really find their rhythm after All Star and really come together and really go on a nice run where they
Hmm.
can give you 9, 10 wins in a row and be able to like really go on a winning streak, and just really up their wins per month in general. Um, so, you know, I don't want to count them out. Like I said, I'm not putting heavy focus on the Knicks winning 60, 65 games. I'm more concerned with, we know you can make the playoffs, but I want to see you get past the second round.
Yeah.
You got to be able to beat, you couldn't handle Indiana last season in the second round. So, one, I think it's important that the Knicks don't drift out of that third seeding. But hell, even a team like Orlando, who gave us problems last year, the Knicks couldn't figure out how to stop Orlando last year. We struggled against them, just like the Knicks struggle against Dallas. It's certain teams that you have to figure out how to stop them and beat them because you don't know who you're going to end up facing off against in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It'll be a damn team like Miami, and then you let them all of a sudden come alive and you can't get stops. The Knicks' issue is not going to be offense, it's going to be their defense.
Defense. Yep. Oh
That's
yeah.
where they have to. They're not a balanced team yet. They're working. They're projecting towards that, but they're not balanced. And I say that because their defense is like, here, and their offense is up here. So they gotta like bring that defensive intensity and level up. And once they do that, they will be a better, well balanced team. So, you know, I don't know. I think that hearing you talk about the Cleveland coach, sometimes it just makes me wonder with Tibbs, like you just wonder what other coaches and other, like, you know, not saying that the players haven't bought into the coach's system and Tibbs system, but it's like, is that system the right system to get them, further along? And I think that Tibbs also, like, he's proven to make teams better and organizations better, but he hasn't won a championship yet. So I don't know. I think that again, I still stand by Tibbs has the pieces in place to work with,
Hmm.
but I think it's just a matter of, the different schemes, the rotations, the calling the timeouts at the right time, the plays that you're making, utilizing your shooters in the games and drawing up plays for them. Um, so I don't know. I think that This Knicks team is going to get better as the season goes on, and we just have to wait and see what they're going to be able to do.
Agreed.
Dorkosaurus Rex said, "We still ain't defending a 3-point line worth a damn." Yeah, and that's why I said this Knicks team, their defense is going to be their Achilles heel if they can't figure out how to play better defense. Kevin Bergen said, "Anything short of the Eastern Conference Finals this year is a failure, in my opinion. And I don't even care who we play in the playoffs." Yeah, I agree. I agree because I don't want the Knicks to become one of those teams that are known to just make the playoffs. And to me, it's just a tease as a fan. You know how there's some teams in the NBA, like every year, they're going to the playoffs, but that's all they're going to do is just go to the playoffs. And then they get knocked out at some point in the first round or the second round. I don't want the Knicks to fall into that category. I want the Knicks to show like, okay, they went to the first round. They're not known as a first round one and done knockout. Same thing with the second round. Like, okay, we're noticing progress with them, and that's what I want the Knicks team to prove that that's what they're capable of doing. Like, don't just go and get to the second round and then you fall short this year. Like, you got to get out of the second round, because if you're working your way towards championship contention, that's what that means. Not just falling short and getting out of the second round.
Well, Boston, Boston's the prime example. They were knocking on the door, um, and they broke through. I think it's just a matter of the Knicks. Could it be this year? Of course it can. Next year, as long as those guys stay together, because you can't keep changing your roster and expecting to, make it. You got to build on that cohesiveness and just, knowing your players and, you know, on a deeper level, on that court, so if they can stay intact this year and next year and add some pieces, the Knicks will be right up there with them. You
Yeah,
know, that's how I look at it.
yeah. Dorkosaurus Rex said that contract extension for Tibbs is going out the window if we lose to the Pacers again like last year in the playoffs. Whether it's the Pacers or anyone else, I think that the pressure is on Tibbs as well. It's not just on the players. And sure, the players have to go out there and play, but there's pressure coming from the front office on Tibbs, and it's on the players. Because if the organization and the front office is making all these moves, we using this money and cap space and trades, and we're getting players in here, you got to make a move. And also because you haven't won a championship in years. So there's this pressure to, you have to perform and do better. You have to perform and do better. You have to. If not, you're going to be out. You see what they did in the WNBA? Fired a bunch of coaches. If you can't perform, you're out of here. It's the business.
Yeah,
We're not going to keep giving you chances. You're going to be out of here.
that is so true. Yeah.
So, I think that with Tibbs, if he doesn't step up to what he needs to do, I don't know. Anything is possible. Same way they do with players, they could do with a coach as well.
I agree.
Said it's not even hard for the Knicks to make the playoffs with how the East is whacked this year. Tibbs is historically a second round exit coach. Yeah. That's what I also mean with Tibbs being predictable. But he has to figure out a way to get this team to get past the second round for sure. And I don't like to sleep on where the standings are for a lot of teams in the East. The East isn't as good as, historically, the West is always better. But the East does look weak this year. And it did that way last year. But I don't like to sleep on any team because some of those teams who's in fifth, sixth, maybe seventh, they can go on a run and all of a sudden they're in, fourth or fifth in the East, and those will be the teams that all of a sudden give the Knicks an issue in the second round. So, I don't like to sleep on that just yet. AP Salute said, even if Tibbs flops this year, there's no one out there to replace him. Oh, there'll be someone.
Okay, yeah.
There will be someone. They'll find someone. I wouldn't mind some of them WNBA coaches over Tibbs for real, because at least the Knicks will play better defense. The demand will the demand for defense to be at a higher standard. Cheryl Reed to replace Tibbs. She's a New Yorker. I didn't know she was a New Yorker. Yeah, I didn't like, of course, I'm not a fan of Cheryl Reed when we're playing against her, but I agree. If you had a Cheryl Reeves or Sandy Brondello coaching, or even a college coach, like a winning college coach.
But there's even a lot of assistant coaches that are sitting on benches that were head coaches at
That's
some point.
true.
Although Sam Cassell, he's never been a head coach, but he's sitting on, who's that? Is that Boston's bench or something? I forgot which bench, but I think it is. Guys like that were head coaches, and they're assistant coaches, so they had that experience. And again, it's all about the players buying into the system. Um, you know, Doc, what he was, at one point he was never on a chopping block, but it was a thing. Guess they didn't, but before it was a rocky start, but now they're forming together some wins and things like that. Giannis is in the talks for MVP, so it's just like it's a lot of things. It's the coaching style, the players buying into the system, and now the players, you got to hustle. You got to play defense. It's like nobody should have to tell you that. That should be a given. You
Right.
learned that from when your AAU days and your high school days. So it's a lot of things, but there's coaches that are sitting on that bench that would happily take Tibbs' place, and possibly do the job better, but the players, they swear by Tibbs, and they say that he's not overplaying them. It's not that, but it's his style, like
Yeah, it's the style of the way he
yeah,
coaches.
and,
Yeah.
and if you can't get them past that, the playoffs, and like, buddy, something's not right here. You know, I think we need to, point that some fingers need to get pointed at Tibbs in some regard.
Yeah. Have you made any votes yet for All Star?
Yeah, I did. I was getting ready to mention that. Yeah, I voted. I tried to vote again today, but I forgot. I think I voted. It was after 12, and I was trying to. Yesterday was triple, and I missed it. So I'm gonna vote again later today. People, don't forget to vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as, well, I'll start before I even get to MVP. Do you think that anyone in particular, or does anyone come to mind when you think of like most improved on the Knicks who could be eligible for that?
Um, yeah, there's a few people. I think Josh, OG,
Yeah.
although they start, but definitely, and Mikel keeps it up, on continue to play. He could definitely be, mentioned or whatever. So yeah, I would definitely start with the Knicks. Few guys on that team.
Yeah, those are my three too for most improved. I have Josh, OG, and Bridges for most improved. And then for MVP, you know, I hear a lot of talk about Carl Anthony for MVP. I don't know. I think sometimes when you are a Knick, because of the reputation that the Knicks has in the league, people still taking the Knicks as a joke. It's kind of hard for you to get the votes. They did it with Brunson. I don't know. Historically, lately, it's been a lot of like bigs who've been winning MVP, Jokic and Embiid, Giannis, but I don't know. I don't know if Carl Anthony Towns could win it, or if he'll get enough votes to get to win it. And then Jalen Brunson, yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, because the way the Knicks don't get enough respect in that regards, and players just get hated on. So I don't know. But yeah, I think most improved. I really love what I'm seeing from Josh Hart. Like
Oh yeah,
he's giving you like triple doubles damn near every night. It almost reminds me of like Westbrook when he was in his prime, but just the energy, the hustle plays, the rebounding, the way he's protecting the ball when he drives to the basket now, his shooting. He's worked on his shot. Him and Deuce McBride has really worked on their shots, which I'm happy about. And yeah, OG also just doing a lot of the other intangibles aside from just shooting the threes, but just driving to the basket, um, just stealing, the quick hands and the quick feet, and the playing, having one of the hardest jobs, him and Mikel on defense every night is not
yeah,
easy. And then Mikel, we know what he can do. So seeing him be able to find his rhythm and his footing here with the Knicks. So I would definitely put one of those three guys, if not all three, in that category of most improved. And then if it was for MVP, I would for sure say Carl and Jalen for sure can get that vote.
yeah. I agree. You know, but it's, I haven't really heard Jalen's name even mentioned. Now I
Yeah,
think you mentioned
same.
Cat. I think he's maybe fifth, sixth somewhere in that because Joker's one. I think Tatum. No, Shay. I don't know the exact. You know, but I know Carl is definitely like either fifth or sixth. But um, Giannis is mentioned. Joker, Shay, Tatum. So these guys, they're ahead of Carl Towns. Again, I don't know if it's because it's a New York thing or whatever. Um, where as much as you ball out and you could have a winning percentage as far as team wise, but unfortunately, like it's not based on team. It's like a collective, award. So, but when you pit him up against, those guys, he does fall like maybe fifth or sixth because it's an individual thing. But because when you look at the Knicks have a better record than both Denver and the Bucks, but unfortunately it's not a team thing. But and like I said, Brunson, I haven't even heard any real like serious mention of his name.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why, because who else is for a guard his size. Um, but yeah, I definitely wish Cat could move up in the standards, and he probably would. It's just what 25 games he's played or something like that or another. But yeah, I would definitely that if it was up to me, they one of them, both of them definitely get my vote.
Yeah. Shout out to AP. He said they're going to give those awards to the same old players. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. It's so true. It's so predictable.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Shout out to Ajay. He said maybe we win more games in a regular season, but get knocked out because we run into the Celtics or the Cavs or the Bucks while they're on a hot streak. Yeah. See, that's where I say that the Knicks have to figure out how to beat those teams. If you
Yeah.
can't figure out how to get past those teams, then that's concerning. He said, we got to take the competition into consideration. This season is different than last. Cavs and Celtics playing better. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they have their same core guys, so they develop a rapport that the Knicks has to have to catch up to and match. And like I say, if you could keep them intact, and stop tinkering with the formula with the recipe, yeah, you're gonna add some guys, but if you could just keep these core guys and with some added pieces, that can make your bench stronger and more potent. And I think that they could. Ain't no thing they can vie and contend with teams like that.
Yeah, it's true. Dorcas Works Rex said, "Oh Diva, I like that sweater. It's a nice color on you."
Oh, well, thank you.
Shout out to still Knicks fans. He said Brunson should definitely be mentioned, especially knowing that he is taking a backseat to try and get his teammates involved.
Hmm.
Brunson can turn it on whenever he wants to. Agreed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think yesterday's game proved like why he's the captain of the team. Like you should know. I think one of my key things for Brunson this season was I said I want him to find better balance. Like we know you could go off and give us
Hmm.
35, 40, 45, 50 points, but finding that balance for when you're off, knowing how to facilitate and set other guys up and being able to do the other things other than just scoring for us. And if you're off, not just settling for the threes, but using your footwork, which is to your advantage, and getting into the paint as he does oh so well. He doesn't allow the height to stop him from going off, right? But being able to utilize the pick and roll, get other guys involved and get, facilitate the ball, get the passing out and catch guys on the fast break. So I think if he continues to do that, he'll be okay. But I do think I agree. I think that Brunson should be mentioned for MVP. He always gets overlooked, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And you said yesterday game. I would even go as far as back the Minnesota game. He didn't like try to take over. I guess he was just waiting for Cat to settle in. And let him find his rhythm. And you know, and he kind of knew he was like didn't have it. That wasn't his night. So I would even go. I would even use that game as a
Mhm.
reason why. Okay, I'm not gonna you know take off unless I have to. Now perhaps if Cat was struggling or whatever, then he would have stepped in. But so yeah, I would definitely go as far as back use that game as another example.
Yeah, true. Well, that's it for us today. Unless Divalox, you have something else you want to mention?
Now I got to get out of here. I got some errands to run.
Yeah, shout out to everybody for joining us today on this Sunday. I hope you all have a great week. Shout out to the chat. You guys were definitely live and popping today. Nostalgic Nick, Wonder Woman, Kareem Grant, Gene Mark, who else? Ajay, A Negro One, Nyla Walker, Track Monkey,
Back.
Dorcas Works Rex, Q Burrow Brother, Rondu 1973, Hit 'em Up New York, New Jersey, or NYNJ. Ron from Still Knicks fans, salute to you, Ron, as always. Kevin Bergen, John McDonald, and who else?
AP. You didn't mention
APAP, and I think I got everyone. Um, I'll be on tomorrow on the Queen's Court. I think we'll be on early since that at 6, being at the Knicks play tomorrow at 7:30.
Yeah, yeah.
Look out for that. We'll be on tomorrow with Steph, Jeff Clafter. I think Jeff has a little something special that he's gonna premiere tomorrow too. So look
Mm.
out for that. And Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises. Shout out to Tony Crow, Jeff, and Steph. And then I'll be back to recap the Wednesday game on Thursday. I'll be on Thursday. And yeah, everybody have a great Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Have a great week. Be safe.
I know.
Until next time, everybody, peace.